But first at 4, happening now in San Antonio, you now have to be 21 years old to buy cigarettes. The Alamo City is the first in Texas to increase the minimum legal age for buying products like cigarettes and e-cigarettes to 21. Eyewitness News reporter Savannah Louie is at the border of Balcones Heights and San Antonio to show us how teens can get around the law. Savannah?
Yes, Deborah, the Tobacco 21 ordinance only applies to shops in San Antonio, which means that you must be at least 21 years old to buy cigarettes and other tobacco products. So that's the case at these 2 gas stations behind me. But if you just go across the street and enter Balcones Heights, who doesn't have that kind of law yet, you can pick up your cigarettes here totally legally as long as you're 18 and you have that photo ID. Now, the reason that this law was introduced is with the hopes of decreasing the amount of young people consuming tobacco products. Supporters of the ordinance say that the brain isn't fully developed before the age of 21, which is going to make it harder to quit tobacco products and any other substances in the future. Tobacco is the leading cause of disease, disability, and death in the United States, with about 95% of adult smokers who started smoking before the age of 21. I spoke with the smoke shop earlier in San Antonio today, and they told me they had already noticed a decrease in sales and that the amount of customers had been cut in half as of earlier this afternoon. Now, passing this Tobacco 21 ordinance has been a work in progress, about a year's work in the making, and folks who led the effort in passing the ordinance say that they're pretty optimistic about the positive effects the ordinance is going to have on the youth after looking at about 300 cities with similar laws in states like California, Maine, and New Jersey.
They are changing behavior. We're seeing a decrease in youth access and youth smoking. On the surveys, it's telling us that this policy will impact behavior and the youth smoking rate will drop.
Now, they're hoping that cities like Balcones Heights and Leon Valley will implement similar laws as early as next year. I'll have more on that at 6. Live from Balcones Heights, Savannah Louie, KENS 5 Eyewitness News.